Hey, I'm Andy Chanley from 88.5 FM. Drop my guitar pick. Welcome to this edition of Here at Home. It's our series of teleconference interviews. And joining me today is two members of the Hold Steady. We've got Craig Finn and Franz Nicolay. Welcome in, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Nice to be here.
Yeah, good to see you again. Uh, we'll talk about last time we saw you back in the before times, Craig, at No Vacancy in Hollywood. Seems like a lifetime ago. Let's talk about the new album. It's Open Door Policy. Comes out as I'm speaking next Friday, February 19th. And you've no doubt already heard the singles Family Farm and Heavy Covenant on 88.5 FM. But wow. This is the 8th full-length album. I mean, this is like 17 years now as an entity. Have you taken any stock in that? I mean, that's a pretty good run.
It is a pretty good run. You start to think about you can start to talk about classic, second albums, classic third albums, but when you start to talk about the classic 8th album, the conversation gets thin. So but yeah, it's. I mean, a lot of our favorite bands probably don't have eighth albums, so I think you have to look back on that. But we're having a lot of fun, so I think that's the best thing about it.
I think there's a way in which being in a rock band for a long time is the opposite of being in any other sort of long-term relationship, in that you take it less for granted the longer you go on.
Yeah, that's interesting. The thing that came to mind first when I thought about that was like running backs in the NFL, like what's the typical livelihood, 3 years or something? And if you last like Frank Gore long, 17 years, then you're certainly the exception.
Yeah, I mean, that would be an interesting stat for a sports. Which NFL players? I mean, Tom Brady is an obvious, have played for longer than the Hold Steady's been around.
Yeah. So I remember first getting turned on to you guys really in 2008 with the Stay Positive album. I was playing that at another radio station here in LA, and Sequestered in Memphis was the lead single from it. And Franz, I've heard you say that it was one of your favorite Hold Steady albums. And I read this quote from you, Craig, around that time, shortly after. You said that it was characters I'd been writing about on previous albums as they got a bit older, more adult with more adult problems. Let me ask the question, turn it around philosophically on you. How have you guys changed since then? Update us on how you're handling your new adult problems.
I think that everyone's mellowed a fair amount on a personal level. I mean, I think that, there seems to be, it's one of the things, like when people are busy in their lives, they tend to come to things like more prepared and more on time and things like that. And I think that that's one way it's affected the band, is it feels like people are doing their homework by the time they show up, and we're able to kind of hit the ground running when we're doing like writing. We'll share demos in advance and people really kind of know what they're talking about. It's not like getting in a space with a case of beer and staring at each other until someone plays a riff that sounds halfway cool. So I think that, there's things like that, but I guess there's just like an emotional, maturity is one way of saying it, but I think just like an easing off or something. I don't know.
Our lives are a little more settled now too in those days we were on the road a lot, and it led to a pretty hectic existence for everybody. And it's more of a foundation right now, I think.
Was it a van life? Was it riding in a van from one stop to the next, writing songs in the van and living on top of each other? And
yeah, a van and then a bus. But the bus is, you're very on top of each other. You don't even go to separate hotel rooms. And actually you mentioned Stay Positive. That was a record that was very much written in hotel rooms and backstages. That was out of necessity, because we weren't going to come home. There was no break on the horizon. So I think, that's a hamster wheel that you can do for X amount of time, but I think that you have to, that there's only so much time before that just, runs you into the ground.
Yeah. Open Door Policy, the new record, the new album. I was listening to it earlier, and there are parts of this album that are like danceable. I mean, it seems like it's one of your more accessible records. You agree with that assessment of it, or?
Accessible is in the eye of the beholder. I do kind of speaking of Stay Positive, I've been bracketing them in my mind a little bit as similar experiences, just because because the experience of making the record was so fun and frictionless and creative in a similar way.
So yeah. How did you go about that? Were you sequestered in Brooklyn? What was the mechanism for making all that happen?
Well, we did 2 sessions actually. It was one in August of 2019 and one in December 2019. And we went up to a place called the Clubhouse in Rhinebeck, New York, which is the perfect. I mean, Franz and Steve live outside of New York. Franz lives in California, Steve in Memphis. But for us New Yorkers, it felt like the perfect amount away, right? You know, it's like 2 hours up, but then you're not going anywhere. So, you know, you stay there. And we got a lot done. Two, you know, I'd say 3 or 4 day sessions. Mm-hmm. And Josh Kaufman, who produced it, is really good at, I think, keeping things pretty light and pretty fun. So it was a very positive, you know, happy recording experience. And then, you know, it took us a little while to sort of finish it off. It was very close to done. But, you know, we dragged our feet on some of the overdubs and the mixing, because we thought when the pandemic hit that we were just that far away from being able to schedule this around playing some shows. And that time sort of never came. So we felt like we should put it out, you know, but it probably could have come out technically a few months sooner, but we were kind of in wait and see mode for a while there.
Talk to that. I can only imagine, I've talked to many artists and everybody has a different take on it, but you work hard on putting together a nice package of art. You get it exactly the way you want. You're ready to go out and tour and play these songs for people. And it's a lifeblood for many musicians. It's the only way they make money. And then all of a sudden this hits, and guess what? You're not going anywhere for a good long time. Was that damaging to your mental health?
How could it not be? I think it's been damaging to everyone's mental health, whether they're musicians or not.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But for me, it's like, you know, I can do everything I need to do from this studio in my house just as easily as I can do it from, you know, the one over at Cal State Northridge. But you can't go out and play for people.
It's been hard. I mean, I think for me, the weird thing that I found myself missing is being stuck in, like, you know, at an Omaha Hilton Garden Inn, having a beer at the hotel bar or something like that. Just the weird travel stuff that I didn't think I'd miss. But that's kind of just something that I guess I've gotten used to and wanted to do. We've done, you know, we did the live stream. We do these shows at Brooklyn Bowl every year in December, and we did a live stream performance and for 3 nights there. And it was no substitute for the real thing, of course, but it was really a great experience in that we were able to bring in monitors that showed the people watching at home through like this sort of Zoom technology. And that was incredible, actually, and very moving to, I said afterwards, it was a reminder of all that we've lost, but also what we have and what the band has built, and the community around the band is incredible. And it was literally people worldwide in their living rooms, and you could see them drinking beer, dancing around, picking up their dogs, etc. So that was a nice break, and maybe a taste of what we can expect, hopefully, knock on wood, you know, going forward.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. I would never have thought of how that could be gratifying, but it's like people come into your concerts and bring in their living rooms with them. That's pretty neat. Let me be the first to, I usually don't like to timestamp these things, but let me be the first to wish you a happy Chinese New Year.
Oh, thank you. It's the year of the ox, I think.
Yes. And I just wrote Year of the Rat on a check this morning. I felt dumb. Franz, I just had this open earlier. Franz, when were you born?
77.
Okay, so you're Year the Dragon. That sounds cool. And Craig, what are you?
71.
71. Year the Dog.
Oh yeah, I like dogs.
Yeah, I'm 68. I'm Year the Sheep.
I think Rat's the one you don't want. I mean,
you know, I guess I don't know much about it, but I know that it's a celebration of ancestors and so forth. Are either of you particularly spiritual or even superstitious? I mean, from your music, it sounds like, you know, everything is lyrically pretty deliberate and cause and effect. But
I mean, I was raised in the Catholic Church, and I've had a lot of back and forth, and I'm currently in the not there portion of my life. You know, it's looking like I'm going to stay there, but you know, I still draw on a lot of it for songs, but superstition, not me. I can put a hat on the bed. I can step on a crack. I can walk under a ladder, all that.
You don't care that it's Mercury in retrograde right now. You're cool.
I don't even know what that means.
See, there you go. What about you, Franz?
No, I had hippie parents, so there was no church, and it also made me allergic to the sort of new age spirituality aspect of it too. So it's pretty much all off the table.
Let's go all the way back. It's first time I'm getting a chance to talk to you, Franz. You play keyboards and other instruments. Was piano where it started for you?
I mean, pretty much. I played violin and French horn when I was a kid too, but yeah, piano until I hit puberty and picked up a guitar.
Who taught you piano? Who taught you to play?
I had a series of really wonderful teachers. I was interested in composing and theory too, so I had a bunch, and my parents were supportive, and they hooked me up with some teachers who could start me off on both the tracks of writing and also counterpoint and harmony and all the other stuff.
What about you, Craig? Was it guitar first?
Yeah, I took guitar. I wanted to play guitar, and
how old were you?
Seventh grade, however old that is. And
13.
I got taken down to take guitar lessons, and they signed me up at the guitar store that was, you know, that was most convenient. And I got signed up to take lessons with this guy named Chris Osgood. And in my first lesson, I learned he'd been in a incredible and very influential punk band called the Suicide Commandos that had played with the Ramones and really all that era of punk. And they made a record called Suicide Commandos make a record that's still one of my favorite records. And he taught me guitar. He also taught me a lot of life lessons. One being he had a phone in his his lesson room, and when someone would call, he would turn up the stereo and answer the phone, which is different than what you normally do. But he would turn it up and answer the phone, and then he turned to me and say, "You always want him to think you're having a party." And I learned a lot of good stuff from him like that. I'm still in touch with him. He's a great dude.
That's a good trick of the trade. Good life hack. Franz, you took a little powder for a couple of years to do your own thing. And part of that was to write. You fairly accomplished as a writer. Is that what you'd be doing if music weren't a thing? If you couldn't make music?
I thought it was what I was going to do. I was there were a couple of years there where I was pretty sure I was finished as a musician, and I had sort of gone through a period of acclimating myself to that, and I was like, okay, well, part 2 is going to be writing and teaching, and then Craig called and said,
you back.
Hey, going to play a couple more shows, and here we are back again.
Yeah.
You try to go legit, and they keep pulling you back in.
Exactly.
One big heist. One last heist.
What about you, Craig? What if music was not a thing? What would you?
I guess, I haven't written as much as Franz, but I mean, I've always
maybe a lot of words.
Maybe I'd try it if I stopped being in a band, because storytelling is an interest. Maybe, and I'd try to do like television or something like that. But some sort of storytelling, I would hope also, or maybe I would be I don't know, a broadcaster or something like that. I like talking to people, so.
I wouldn't be surprised with all of the character sketches that you've given us in all of these songs that would be an avenue. Thanks for giving me some time today to talk about the new album. Is there anything else that longtime fans of the Hold Steady need to know to appreciate Open Door Policy? Are there any any Cliff's notes that that they should have before they get started?
No, the only thing I'd say for especially for your listeners is I don't know that we've ever had as explicit of a California song in our catalog than we do in Lanyards, the third song on the album, which is about a young man from the Midwest who goes to California to follow his dreams, and he lasts 4 months, but it's a big 4 months, and the song tells that story.
I came out from Indianapolis in '97, and most of my friends gave me 6 months.
Well, you do better than this guy. He came from Missouri, but well, at least we can say we have a pretty strong California song in our catalog now.
Go get the new record. Open Door Policy is the name of it, and you'll continue to hear the songs Family Farm, Heavy Covenant, and others on 88.5 FM. Franz Nicolay and Craig Finn of the Hold Steady. Guys, thanks for giving us some time today.
Thanks so much for having us, Andy.
All right, come see us in person when all this stuff's blown over, okay?
We will.
All right, bye-bye.
88.5 FM, KCSN, and KCSN HD1 Northridge, Los Angeles. KSBR and KSBR HD1 Mission Viejo. A service of California State University Northridge and Saddleback College. Member-supported public radio. Streaming on the web at 885fm.org.